Hey there, Sean Terry here from Flip2Freedom.com. I'm the creator of the #1 real estate investing podcast in iTunes, and I've got a special quick training here I wanted to talk to you about. And when it comes to negotiating with motivated sellers, how to negotiate with motivated sellers. Now, picture this. You get a call that comes in, someone's motivated, maybe you did a mailing to probate or inheritance or absentee owners, whatever the case may be. The call comes in, and the #1 thing initially, what you want to do is build a rapport with them. Build a rapport with them. Connect with them on the phone. You know, I hear so many people that get on the phone, they're all rigid, like, you know, how big's your house, and how many bed, and how many bath, and is there a pool, and and they're so structured. The #1 most important thing to do is say, hey, what is the reason for selling? Why try to build that rapport with them, and the way to do that is you try to find things to relate with. I usually ask them when I'm on the phone, and they say, hey, I'm calling about, I just got this letter in the mail, and I just want to find out what it's all about. I said, yeah, hey, I'm looking for houses that we can purchase right now, either for buy and hold or fix and flip, and I'm an investor, and so what's your situation? How long have you owned the house? And they go, oh, I've owned the house for, ever, and, are you just looking to get rid of it now? Is it a rental property? What's the case? And find out the situation, find out what their need is, because if you can find out their need, what do they want? Do they need cash? Do they need, money for some other venture that they want to do? Are they sick and tired of just having a renter in place and they don't want to deal with renters anymore? Maybe they inherited the property and have to liquidate it so they can pay off other debts. You have to find out the situation. So rapport is probably the most important thing. Now, once you now go on the appointment, right, and you're going to meet with that seller, whether it be face-to-face or even over the phone, you want to keep that connection of the rapport, okay? So when you're meeting them and you have all your folder and you're going to go meet them down at the house and you're talking to them, right, the biggest thing is now you want to connect that rapport and try to find other things that you can talk about. Give me an example. Recently went to a house, I don't know, probably a couple months ago, and the guy had these model boats, okay, these handcrafted boats, and he had them all over all the wall, and he had these little crafted boats here, and he had these little display cases and stuff. So, when I walked into the house, I said, hey, Mr. Seller, right, how's it going? I said, great. Walked in and go, wow, that's incredible. Check out those boats. That is phenomenal. Where did you get those things? And guess what? His face just lit up. He was like, oh, I got this one here and this one there. He spent a half hour telling me all about these different boats. And guess what? I was his best friend. So when it came down to negotiating and talk about numbers, it was a cinch. It was easy because I've already built that rapport. Now, one secret about building rapport is ask questions and shut up and listen. And be sincerely interested in what people have to say. Okay? You just can't sit there and ask them a question and glaze over and you're thinking about, how am I going to get this deal under contract because I got to pay my bills next week. You can't do that. Right? You got to go in, #1, first off, not needing the deal, right? It's more of an attitude on your part. And 2, you got to go in and be able to build a rapport and ask the questions about them and their situation and how long they lived there. You'll find some amazing things. Houses where, a grandson inherited a property and he was over there when he was a kid and used to play in the backyard, and there's some emotional attachments there. And if you're sincerely listen and you kind of talk about and reminisce of what they've done in the house and stuff, and it will build that rapport because you care. So, people ask me, they go, what makes you different? Why can you go in and meet with a seller and then 5 other people go meet with the same seller and you get the deal? Even though I'm a lower price, is because of that, #1, is that I build a rapport. Now, the second big thing is this. It's understanding pain and pleasure. And here I'm going to write on the board here, right? And basically you got this line right here, right? And you've got pain and pleasure. Okay? You got pain and pleasure. Now, what happens is a lot of people do is they focus on the pleasure, right? So when you're talking to a seller and they go, oh, wouldn't it be great to sell the house? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to be free of not having to deal with tenants anymore? Wouldn't it be great if you, you were free of having any maintenance problems with a property and having to deal with that? Wouldn't that be great? Pleasure, 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 pleasure. Okay? Now, you definitely want to use pleasure in a certain way, but people make decisions based upon emotion, right? Not based upon facts. So I know this one guy, he has this whole presentation of how he explains it to the seller and the bullet points, and this is the advantages of going with me instead of going with else, and here's the market value and all this. I don't do that. I don't do that at all. What I focus on is I ask questions. I understand where their pleasure is, right? And then I understand where their pain is, okay? So what's the pain? Well, the pain is if you talk about their pleasure situations, right? All their pleasure points. And then you say, listen, here. And they go, I want to think about it. You know, I put your price out. And I'll talk about pricing here in a second. But you put your price out. And they go, well, you know, I want to think about it, right? I'll say, listen, Mr. Seller, you know what? I've got a limited amount of cash that I can spend on a potential deal, right? And I either can spend it on your house, we can make a decision right now, or I can go to my appointment I have tomorrow and the next day, and if I commit to them, then guess what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy your house, number one, and two, if I do, it's going to be pushed months out. So we got two different options, Mr. Seller. A, right? We can get you here. We can get you all the, so you don't have to deal with tenants anymore. You can get the money in your pocket. We can close and get this thing done quick. Or you know what? Honestly, if we can't make a commitment here, I'm going to have to potentially go get another deal. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to renege the offer or take back the offer. So what do you want to do? Do you want to sit on it, right? Or do you want to make a decision you want to move forward? Now, what I found is that is pain. That's fear of loss. Okay, fear of loss, and that's the pain of losing the deal, right? What's more pain? Pain is say, listen, Mr. Seller, you know what? The market's in shambles right now. I mean, who knows? I'm coming here. I'm saying, hey, listen, I can offer you cash, and guess what? You can go out and have the money and not have to deal with the problems. But guess what? If I go out and turn around and I do contract another deal. Well, guess the carpet needs to be done. The AC needs to be fixed. There's a lot of different things that need to happen on this property before you have to get it right to turn around and sell it. And then you're gonna have to turn around and possibly even pay a realtor on the commission on that after you spend all the money fixing the thing. So what do you want to do? So what happens is you're talking and you're basically knowing what the pain is, and you're kind of tapping it. Here's your pain. Here's your pain. Here, you don't want to spend money. You don't want to go in foreclosure. You don't want to, just abandon the property. You don't want to do that. Pleasure, you're going to get the, get the relief. You don't have to deal with the house. You're just tapping those different things, and then you add an element of fear of loss in there when it talks about, you're not going to buy your house. You're going to buy someone else's house. Okay. Now let's talk about numbers, right? How do you present a number to a seller, right? Because two things are going to happen. You're talking to a seller, and the seller goes, well, what do you want to buy it for? And it's just part of negotiation, and everybody knows whoever names the first number first loses, unless you name the low number, right? So what you do is that you talk to the seller and say, listen, Mr. Seller, hey, great house. It needs a lot of repairs. Market's kind of tough right now. There's not a lot of going on in the neighborhood. The roof needs to be fixed. There's a bunch of things. Listen, you know what? If I pay cash and I can close quickly, what's the best you can do? And shut up, right? You have to ask the question and then suck in. You gotta keep quiet, right? You have to keep quiet. And it's tough because you're going to be biting your nails. You're going to be sitting there going, because he's going to think about it, right? And two things are going to happen. One, he's going to give you a number. He's going to say, well, best I can do is $50,000. And your initial reaction is critical. So he's going to go $50,000. And you're going to go, $50,000? like I said, there's tons of repairs and there's, things. I got to replace the roof and the AC and the kitchen's a mess and the market's crazy. There's no comparable sales. Mr. Seller, is $50,000 the best you can do? And it's funny because, and then guess what? Shut up. Keep your tongue in your mouth and shut up. And brighten your fingernails. Do everything you can do. Pinch yourself so you don't say anything. Because there will be a moment of silence and it will be awkward. And if you open your mouth, you're done. So anyway, so you just shut up. Is that the best you can do? And amazing, they'll go, well, I don't know, you're right. I said, listen, if I could pay cash and close, what's the best you can do? And they'll go, maybe I can do 55. 55? That's what you're going to say. Don't laugh. It's funny, I know. 55, and then what's going to happen is you're going to say, Mr. Seller, do you realize that I could buy a house around the corner that's in better condition for similar price? It's in better condition. Now, I think you have a great house. I think it's a phenomenal house, but I'm an investor. I'm not in the business of buying properties at retail. So, listen, I'm going to pay in cash. Obviously there's a cash discount. I'm not getting a loan. I'm not getting financing. I'm not turning around having to get appraisals on the property or having you fix up everything and having to wait 6 months to sell it. So, listen, if you get all that hassle out of the way, Mr. Seller, listen, if I pay, what's the best you can do? And if you understand what I'm getting at here, is that you continue asking and framing it differently, what's the best you can do, and what will happen is they're going to come to a point where they're going to throw up their hands. Nope, that's it. I can't. That's it. The bottom line is $40,000. Well, they're 50. 50. Did I say 55? 45, right? They're at 50, they go down to 45, they're down to 40, they go $40,000. That's it. That's all I'm coming up with. That's the last, otherwise I'll just, forget it, I'm just not going to sell it. And they'll get to the point where it's you cross the line, it's done. Right? And then you say, obviously if your numbers work and can make it work, you say, fine, okay, you know what, I'll do what I can do, I'll make it work at my number at $40,000. And you fill out the contract and write it. Now, that's if the seller names the number first. What if you have to name the number first? Because the seller goes, I don't know, you're the expert, what do you want to pay for it? Well, in that case, guess what? I'm going low. I'm going to say, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, all the houses around here, right, are putting on the market and they're getting maybe $40,000 to $50,000 for pricing. And those are properties that are, either at or better condition than yours. And all these people, they're selling in 3 to 6 to 9 months, right? So there's some holding costs involved of holding the property for that long. Now, your property's vacant, right? It needs a bunch of work to it. So think about it. It could be even more destroyed over that time. And number two, they all have to pay real estate commissions, closing costs, fees, and you have to deal with appraisals and have to deal with finicky people coming in, looking at the house and having you pick it apart and having you make repairs before they'll turn around and buy it. So that's what's going. Now, I'm not an investor that buys at retail. I don't do it. I'll just buy the house down the street. Okay. So for me to come in and pay cash and close quickly on this property, I need to be at $25,000. Now, if it doesn't make you somewhat nauseous to say that number, almost embarrassed to say that number, it's not low enough, right? So you're going, I need to be around $25,000. And this is you naming your first number. Now, two things are going to happen. Mr. Seller's going to go, what are you kidding me? $25,000? I wouldn't give it away for there's no way. Okay, Mr. Seller, you asked me what I would do for the property. Where do you need to be? What's the best you can do to be able to get this deal done? If it doesn't work, great, hey. But if it does, you never know. So what's the best you can do? Now, if you do a low number like this, he can't come and say he wants 80 grand or 70 grand. He's going to be like, well, maybe I'm in $40,000 range. And then you get to a point where you can negotiate and you're going back and forth. And you're still, once you name the number, you're going to ask him, he's going to come back with a number, and then you're going to go back through the whole, it's the best you can do, best you can do, best you can do, best you can do. Okay? And get down until number 2, he throws up his hands and say, forget it, okay, great, we'll contract $40,000, let's get it done. Okay? So now, that's how I negotiate with a seller, talking to them about pricing and stuff like that. Now, if the pricing's already good, I don't beat them up. If it's a grandmother and you have to use your, be smart about it. If you're dealing with a grandmother and this is their inheritance, this is everything they've got left, and they're going to be completely wiped out, I'm not going to bash them down so I can make an extra couple $1,000. No. I'm going to do a fair offer. It's going to make sense. That's with the marketplace we can do. But if a guy's an investor, he owns 6 properties, and he wants to dump it because whatever, guess what? I'm going to, business is business, and I'm going to, go out and negotiate, right? That's just the bottom line. So you got to kind of have to use your judgment, ethical judgment, to determine to make sure that it's a fair transaction for everybody, okay? Because you will get referrals and stuff like that. So that is the how to negotiate with sellers. We've got more videos to come on different steps like that. But the bottom line is that when negotiating, you got to be confident going in. You got to know what you're talking about. You got to build a rapport, and then you got to use these tactics, I guess you could say, to go out and maximize and get the most amount of profit out of a deal. Now, if you want more from me, you can go and you want to listen to the podcast. I have 80-something different podcasts as from recording this, 80-plus hours, almost 90 hours of content on there that talks about every aspect of wholesaling and how to make money in real estate investing. But you can go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com. On the front page, you'll see a video of me, and you can download my book for free. It's a 129-page book. The Ultimate Real Estate Investing Blueprint. It's the #1 downloaded book on Amazon right now for real estate, and it's phenomenal. But you can get it for free and read through it. It's basically 19 weeks on exactly how to quit your job, and I talk about all these different tactics and strategies and marketing strategies and the whole deal. I've had people tell me they've spent well over $1,000 for the same information that you can get for free. So just go to the website, flip2freedom.com. You can get that, download it, and I will see you in the future. Take care, and God bless.